Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Healthspan Podcast, where we talk all things health, hormones, and staying hard to kill. Today, we have a guest with us. We have Mason Collins from Live Oak Testosterone and Weight Loss. He's out of San Angelo, Texas. So Mason's a friend of mine. We've known each other a while here. I was on his show a little while back. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago. But, we've been kind of chatting back and forth in between. We got a chance to meet in person live in between there, too, at the Silverback Summit. But Mason, welcome to the show. It's good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm super pumped. Excited to kind of chat with whatever. I know you're going to have good topics, and I just try and spew out what I know about Healthspan and what has worked for me, what hasn't, and knock out a few topics along the way.
All right. I like it. And Mason's being modest here. He has a pretty robust practice going there where they treat both men and women. He's got multiple staff there. How many people do you have on board now treating patients on your crew?
That's a good question. We have 4 front staff. We have RN kind of health coach that also does aesthetics. We have a registered dietitian to help us with the weight loss and kind of better protocols, a patient care coordinator, 3 nurse practitioners, and myself as a nurse practitioner.
Wow, that's amazing. Pretty good stuff. I like it. Yeah. So when I was on your show, we talked about, the main topic was how to be hard to kill. So we talked about what are the things that you can do to stay healthy and live a long time and improve your health span and have a happy, healthy kind of life. So today I thought we'd talk about, the importance of lifestyle when treating TRT and how if you really want to get the most out of it, it might be the most important part. I think we have some, we probably have some similar thoughts here. It'll be interesting to see if we differ anywhere. But how do you approach lifestyle with your patients? So maybe a new patient comes in or, a patient who's having trouble adjusting to a protocol. How do you approach that?
Yeah. So the foundational stuff is still foundational, the base of the pyramid, whether you're on hormones or not. And so we're still going to kind of dive into just what does your day-to-day look like? What type of work do you do? Are you married? Do you have kids? That kind of stuff. Do you have an exercise regimen? What does eating look like for you? And another big part that I dive into with these guys is, stress management, their mental health. Then I kind of start looking somewhat into like a toxin exposure somewhat, like how much alcohol do they drink a day? Do they smoke? Do they do any other drugs or anything? And then from there, we, are going to get labs and stuff, but lifestyle is still going to be 75% of what we're really focusing on. And we'll use hormones to kind of bridge that gap with what is lacking. And I think we've talked in the past, we have kind of a similar approach with it. It's like some of the guys who are just train wrecks, they're drinking 6 beers a night, they're 40 pounds overweight, they have a lot of the negative lifestyle aspects. Sometimes I'm going to work on just say, hey man, your body is not tuned enough to handle testosterone. You're not healthy enough for testosterone. Let's try and improve this so that your body can now take this high octane fuel and run more effectively so that you don't get stuck with the side effects. But if this guy is suffering and he's pan positive on the ADAM questionnaire, meaning like his symptoms are aligning with low testosterone symptoms, I'm not going to withhold it just because I've seen it be the catalyst a lot for them to start making those changes so that they do. Now he feels a little bit better. So now he can start exercising a little bit. Now he exercises a little bit. Now he wants to fuel his body with food choices better. And now that he's exercising, he's sleeping better. And now that he's sleeping better, he has better energy throughout the day. And the testosterone was really the catalyst to start that positive snowball that would have been tough to do without it. And so it's kind of that fine line of filling out the individual as a whole on, do we need to just work on lifestyle at first, or is testosterone needed to start this catalyst? And so that is typically what I'm looking at first. And if you could prescribe the best lifestyle and everything to get the most out of testosterone, first would just be eat whole food choices that are minimally processed, foods that were grown from the earth or had a pulse. They're typically more micronutrient dense or typically more satiating, not from a package. Shopping the perimeter of a grocery store is typically less processed, more fresh stuff. I don't get too into yes, limit your preservatives. I'm not saying everybody has to eat organic and that kind of stuff. I'm not, as long as everything's doing okay, I don't get too much in the weeds in terms of seed oils and that they're the devil and everything. But work on getting enough protein. I like 1 gram per goal weight in pounds. And so, most guys, that's a lot more than what they're getting. 200 grams or so is for the average guy. And then I want them to be sleeping, get 7 to 9 hours of good restful sleep. Make sure they don't have sleep apnea. We uncover sleep apnea in a lot of these guys that it mimics a lot of low testosterone symptoms. And so
Yeah, for
have
sure.
a pretty low threshold to order a sleep study. Exercise, I want guys and gals just to start moving more if they don't, if they don't have an active job, if they don't have an exercise regimen. I mean, I sit and chat with people all day, so I have to have an exercise regimen, or I would just average 2 or 3,000 steps a day. But if a guy is, busy guy getting 15,000 steps throughout his day, that's going to be a little different. I still promote resistance training with that, but, make sure they're moving. We talked about sleep, and then control stress as best as possible, kind of work, make sure that they're just not in constant fight mode all the time. That is very draining as well. And so those are probably the biggest pillars that we look into first. And then that's, whether we start testosterone or not, really, for
Yeah.
them.
No, that's great. That's great. And I think so. And what you just said here is probably more time than anyone will get, maybe even ever, from their primary care doctor talking about this stuff, and probably from a lot of hormone clinics too. And that's a big problem. And you just outlined it too, right? So you just give a quick outline. Go to your primary care doctor, you're scheduled for, a 15-minute visit, and 5 of that has to be him doing his chart and getting things prepped. So you have 10 minutes to talk, and all of
Yeah.
it can't be lifestyle, although it's probably the most important thing. If we focused on, what's the big rock here? What's the thing that's going to fix most of your problems? You have that patient you described is probably, to us, it sounds like a train wreck or a dumpster fire, and we're describing it as not optimal, but pretty average, right? I mean, pretty average American, 40 pounds overweight, drinking 6 beers a night. I mean, there's
Yep.
probably a lot of head nod, and everyone, man, everyone's either been that person or knows that person for sure. So it's definitely, definitely interesting. It's definitely super important. And I think we just don't, the system just doesn't make enough time to cover that most important thing. But we do have time, if you're in a primary care setting and it's that kind of thing, they can walk in and, the prescription isn't lifestyle. The prescription is a pill, and the
Yep.
patient tries it. And, there's very little talk about this with the lifestyle. Or if there is, it's something like, hey, your blood pressure is up, your blood sugar is up, you need to lose some weight, you need to exercise, you need to eat better. And then the patient leaves and they take to the internet and they come up with some crazy plan of their own. So they're not getting any kind of prescriptive guidance. And either, again, they just don't have time to do it. Maybe the provider has no interest in it. Maybe they just don't know. They might not even know themselves. But I think it's super important. I think it's definitely a value added thing that I think we both provide. I spend a lot of time talking to my folks about that.
Yeah. One of the things that, I didn't really think about until I'm in this space is like, I would say one of the biggest motivating factors for me to keep a consistent exercise regimen and be in control of my eating is I want to be a positive example for people,
Mm.
and sometimes you go to your primary doctor, or the doctor across from you is not really the picture of health. And
Sure,
it's really
sure.
not tons of fault to them because they're in a high stress situation. They're having to see a lot of people and stuff. But, it's like the person preaching to you, you really want them to be an example, and a lot of times they're not. And so that's a big motivating factor for me to keep my exercise regimen and everything, so that hopefully I walk in, and just walking in is like, okay, well, this guy, just from what I can tell, may have some authority from his, physique and demeanor. And I'm not going to say like I have the perfect physique. I am heavier than what I want to be. I have more body fat than I want, but I'm still working on it. And sometimes I have a high hunger drive, and I've always carried more weight than what I've wanted. And so I can provide a lot of examples from the weight loss portion of what has worked for me, what hasn't.
Yeah,
And
if
so
anything,
that's
that's
just
more
kind of,
helpful for the patient, right? They can hear your personal part of it. If they think they're talking to someone who's never had any issues, they're like, great. It sounds easy for you to say, man, right?
yeah. And so it's like, so I'm not going to fault, if your doctor looks overweight, just because I've been in that side where I was way overweight and I had no time to exercise. And,
Sure, sure. And
you
some
still
of them might even
know.
have the knowledge. They still might know something about it, but
Yep.
again, yeah, there's definitely something to having a presence. And now maybe people think the other, like, man, this guy sounds like he's a pretty busy guy, but he's still making time to make this happen. So yeah, there's definitely something to that first First impressions mean something.
One of the things I want to ask you about, because I think just from your social media and stuff, you've had a good, just your little clips provide a lot of insight and everything. But, I hear a lot and it's almost just brushed over real quick is like, we'll be going, it's like, hey, what does your nutrition look like? What are your eating habits? And
Yeah.
it's like, I eat pretty clean, and it's like, all right. And then, most time you just move on. But I think, like, I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about it. Now, how do you approach that?
Oh, exactly,
That,
exactly. I had to slow them way down. They're going through their list. They're going through a list of things. No, no, my diet is great. My exercise is good. I eat healthy. And then they want to move on. It's like, no, no, each one of those things is probably, that could be a 15 or 20-minute talk on each of those points right there. And sometimes, you're surprised people will back up and define that. You're like, I agree. That is a good amount of exercise. That is healthy eating. Yeah. So I think you definitely have to unpack all that. And again, now you're in a place like your primary care doctor's office. They write down, I don't know, the patient says they're eating great. They must be, what you're going to tell them no. So you kind of do have to challenge them on and push them on it a little bit. Don't say, hey, I think you're lying. I don't believe you. You're clearly not doing that. That's not going to be great. But I'm surprised how many times people are mistaken about what that looks like. Like, so,
yeah.
there's two different things too with diet. There's healthy eating and then there's a caloric balance too, right? If you're eating in a caloric surplus, you could be eating all the best food in the world. If you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're going to gain fat. Just the way it is. You can get fat or you can get lean on the perfect diet that's all organic stuff from Whole Foods and you're spending your whole paycheck on it, or you could get super lean on McDonald's, right? I mean, that's the caloric piece of it. And then the other part is what other health benefits are you getting from eating good non-processed foods? And hopefully you're doing some combination of all of it. And then maybe, if you're not doing that, maybe 20% of the time you're getting some junk, but the other 80% is the good eating and in a caloric balance. Man, you just nailed it. Easier said than done, though. It's a lot of opportunities, a lot of donuts on the desk at work, and a lot of fast food, and have anything you want delivered to your house within 15 minutes. So it's tricky.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to tease it out, like they're just like, no, I eat pretty good. And it's like, okay, well, just kind of tell me. And,
Mhm.
they will do a day that sounds perfect. And sometimes they'll just be like, well, how often do you get that? And it's like, well, maybe once a week or so. And then it's like, well, what is just a standard day? And they're like, okay, well, Tuesdays they, buy us lunch and it's typically, from one of the fast food places. And then we go out to eat on Wednesdays as a family. It's like, where do y'all typically choose? And it's like, more fast food. And then it's like Thursday we have gymnastics practice and we typically just get something on the go. Fridays we typically, hang out and, have a few beers and throw it as like, okay, well, I didn't really hear, I heard a Monday that was okay, and it's like,
Mhm.
but the rest of your week doesn't actually equate to that. Or
Yeah.
what we've also kind of, from a weight loss standpoint, what I've had at some is they're super perfect Monday through Friday and their calorie deficit's not quite enough. Monday through Friday is like 200 to 300. And then Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, they just go off the rails and they'll be a 4,000 calorie surplus on those 2 days, still
Yep.
putting them in a surplus for their weekly
Exactly.
total. And so they're still trending upwards in their weight. Like, I don't understand where this is coming from. It's like, okay, well, you're still in a weekly surplus, so sometimes you do have to get nitpicky and somewhat call them out on times it's, not my favorite part. And I don't want them to feel pressured or anything, but it's like, okay, we got to find where your calories are coming from. If you're stuck, if you're continuing to gain despite this perfect day and everything. And so,
Yeah.
and
I
sometimes that's
tell,
where meds come in.
oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. No, it helps do it. But I think, the best way to use, if we're talking like modern weight loss meds, GLP-1s and so forth, and the best way to do it is still to track, because now you're learning something along the way. Even if you're just logging what you're putting in your face and it's not some real particular plan, but your appetite is suppressed, you have it written down, you have all this data, you can look back and see,
Yep.
huh, look at that. I was in a 500 calorie per day deficit and I lost X amount of weight. How about that? The math actually works out. And you're just reinforcing some good habits. And now going forward, you can either use that medication or not. It's not going to be as comfortable to repeat the same thing, but you have the plan right there. So I like to tell people to do that. They'll say, calorie counting doesn't work for me. Like, what does that mean too? I don't let that go either. Tell me how it went when you tried it. What did you do? How did you do it? So I've had people
Yeah.
where the answer is they log their calories all week long. Then on the weekend, they're too drunk to remember. So they don't log those. And like you're saying, they're 1,000 calories or 1,500 surplus easy, maybe more than that, right? You have some, go to the brew and have micro pub and have some IPAs and go out for pizza after, you just blew your whole week right there. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's not okay to do occasionally. You just have to know it's part of the bigger plan, and it is what it is. Another part there too, I tell people I've been counting calories for a long time. Like I remember being a teenager. I'm 51 years old now. I remember being 16 years old and going to the bookstore and buying a calorie book and having a pad, and I'd write it down on there. I was just curious, how it worked and what would
Wow.
happen. So, yeah, so I had that, and then when computers became more of a thing, I had it on a spreadsheet. So I have all this. I have some old stuff. But so I can look at a plate and be pretty damn sure, or I can look at a banana and tell you that average banana is 110 calories and has 27 grams of carbs for your average banana. And I could do that for
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of foods,
impressive.
and I
Yeah.
still count my calories and log it because if I don't, I'm off by enough that it can make a difference. And that's not saying, "Oh, look at me, look what I can do." It's just saying, "Hey, this is difficult." They even have
It is.
some surveys where they ask people to recall what they ate or, guess what their calories were, and they're off by so much, it's ridiculous. They're off by like 1,500 calories. You're gonna gain
Yeah,
like
a
3
ton.
pounds a week at that rate. So,
Yeah.
I've had some people be offended, like, "Hey, what do you mean I don't know what I'm eating?" I would say, "It's not you, it's just human nature. We're just you're going along about your day, you're grazing on this or that, you grab even if it's healthy stuff, you grab a handful of nuts or something, you do that a couple times a week, and now it's a new habit, and next thing you know, you're gaining some weight." So I do like the idea of collecting data like that. I think it's a helpful thing for people.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I even tell them like, look, don't even change your diet for a week. Just track everything that you are eating just for calorie awareness. See where your calories are coming from, how many calories are in everything you're getting, and how many you're ending on a typical day. Like be truthful because tracking itself starts where you change your
Yeah, you've
habits.
already
Like if you,
changed the experiment, right?
yep,
You're visiting the tribe in the jungle, and you're already changed because they know you're there. They saw you, and something's gonna change, right? So sure, but
yep,
it's super helpful. It is, and yeah, I tell people the same thing. It's almost better if they don't change it because they want to know what was that baseline, and then they know like, holy cow. Then they start putting it together. Like, wait a minute, so this soda, I can have this soda, or I could have a couple baked potatoes, or like, oh, this is a trade off.
yeah,
Or with alcohol, big thing with alcohol too. People will look like, huh, maybe I'm gonna have a light beer instead of some IPAs, and now I can have a steak. There we go. It all kind of adds up.
yeah, or diet soda with the mixed drink or something instead of it's like, man, the alcohol itself is so calorie dense. You start adding a full strength soda with it, it adds up
Yeah,
so fast. 1,400 calories of empty calories for
right.
6 drinks they had over 4 hours while they were out. So
Yeah, those are easy wins. I love when someone comes to me with a calorie count or a diet recall, and they're talking about drinking liquid calories or Starbucks milkshakes. I refuse to call it coffee. Those are milkshakes. The But, if they're doing that, I mean, this is gonna be super easy. We just remove a few of these things, a couple sodas a day, a Starbucks a day to get you on, a half whipped or transition you into some black coffee. This is gonna be easy work. I did notice now you've said a couple of things that are kinda crazy though too. Now you said that seed oils aren't evil, and you said that diet soda's okay.
yeah, so when they're saying sodas, I'm like, man, again, it's an easy win. It's a low hanging fruit. Like there's so many 0 calorie options for liquids. It's just find something that you like. Here we have a lot that are like, I'm a diehard Dr. Pepper guy. It has to be full strength or normal Dr. Pepper. I'm like, there's so many options. Just buy a dozen 0 calorie ones from the store. Just get little singles and taste them till you find one that is sufficient. And there's a lot of you'll find something. If you're putting some effort into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and seed oils, like, I mean, yeah, I don't think they're the epitome of health. So I'm not saying go chug oils or anything, but I don't think they are the devil's hand like social media can make them to be. Just, balance your omega-3, omega-6 ratios and limit where you can, but you're not going to derail an entire thing if calories are equated. They can be calorie dense. They can throw calories over very fast, but, all the studies where if calories are equated, I'm not seeing tons of negative health benefits and everything. Again, I'm not saying
And I
douse.
totally I
Yeah.
totally agree with you, man. I was just giving you a hard time and wanted to press you a
Yeah.
bit there, pretend
Yeah.
there was something we disagreed on there. But,
Yeah.
I agree. I think plugging in diet sodas, that's definitely overhyped. I see people really lean into that sometimes too, like, "Well, that's poison. What are we doing?" It's like, "What do you think carrying around 50 extra pounds of adiposity is doing to you?" There's no amount of diet soda or artificial sweetener that's gonna be as bad for you as that is. If you
Yep.
wanna start
You know,
splitting hairs and now all your weight's gone and you're healthy and things are great, and you wanna
yep.
say, "Should I drink this or water?" You know, it's still hard to make the case even, if you're having 1 a day or something, I mean, that's gonna do absolutely nothing. As long
Yeah.
as it's not
And
bothering someone's gut in some way, I
yep,
say go for it.
exactly.
So much better for you to not be over fat and have those things. And the same thing with the seed oils too. I think a lot of what processed foods do to you, the full final product, seed oils get the blame for that. It's not that one ingredient that's doing this. It's this end product that you're doing. In the grand scheme of things, if you're eating in a caloric balance or a caloric deficit and losing fat and staying healthy, a little bit of seed oil in there, there's no good evidence it does anything crazy to you. So,
Yeah, in
yeah,
moderation. Like again, equate your calories and it's going to be fine. Like maybe the heated oil over and over and over and over in these restaurants and stuff, and they're
sure.
not changing it. Maybe that has a little bit worse, like
I hope no one
oxidized
has a deep
LDL and
fryer.
stuff.
If any of my patients have a deep fryer in their house, I'm doing a house call.
Yeah,
I'm
and
coming
air
over to
fryers are such a game changer in terms of low calorie, frying now too. Tastes good and it's quick,
Oh, yeah.
like just air fry it. That's my uh view for
Yeah,
a
for
lot
sure.
of it.
No, there's a lot of easy ways to do it. Yeah, you covered a lot of really good topics out of the gate there. So backing up to some of those, so we were talking about how, TRT, it just works better if you have your lifestyle things in check, right? And that's definitely
Yep.
the case. And I don't think that's a point I like to make with people too, is that it's not unique to testosterone. It really is to all medicines. Like someone comes in, they're hypertensive, we need to get them some blood pressure medication. If they start exercising, they lose some weight, they stop drinking alcohol, we can get you off that medication. That's what everyone wants to know, right? Hey, if I start a blood pressure medication or this medication, I don't want to do it because I'll be on it for life. You don't have to if you change your lifestyle. My favorite thing to do is deprescribe the medication. That's awesome. Let's
Absolutely.
let's do
Yep.
it. Let's have at it. Same thing with diabetes medications, whatever it might be. So yeah, definitely the lifestyle part of it is huge. It's a big deal. But with testosterone, what you're talking about, with rocket fuel, because you're right. If you try to put some rocket fuel in an '86 Corolla, it's not going to go well. I mean, unless this thing's really done up and ready to go. There's probably one out there. Maybe someone will leave it in the comments. Here's my awesome
Yeah.
'86. But yeah, usually, guys that they're running too hot, they're not ready for it. Whereas if someone shows up, they're already checking all these lifestyle boxes, but they're just slipping a little bit. Um, and it's not in a way where they're overstressing themselves too, because we'll see that too. You'll see a
Hmm.
guy who's burning the candle at both ends. He's working super hard. He's not getting good sleep. He's overtraining in the gym or under recovering, however you want to call it. And maybe, he needs a lifestyle adjustment in that way. Hey man, we need to build in some periodization to your training. We need to get you on some good recovery protocols, that kind of deal. But yeah, for sure, people who check all the lifestyle boxes and not even perfectly. I've found, and you let me know too, but even people who are trying to meet those goals, they just seem to do great with testosterone. Whereas the
Yeah,
people
for
sitting
sure.
around waiting for the magic to happen end up disappointed and like, hey, maybe we need to adjust this or that. And they're chasing medications where no, we have 6 or 8 other things on the list we probably need to fix before fixing your testosterone protocol.
Yeah, and I was even like doing the overtraining in you already kind of alluded to it. It wasn't that I was probably overtraining. I fell into the under recovering. I was lifting heavy and then going for runs, lifting heavy, going for runs,
Mm.
sacrificing my sleep to get up early enough to do it. And then life kind of just caught up with me and it almost forced me to start recovering better. Then I started, instead of just going out on these full out runs, I started doing more zone 2 walks and I was actually recovering. And then all of a sudden my strength gains go up or like I'm lifting more. And then I feel like even my runs were better because I was just allowing some actual recovery, making sure my sleep was getting a little bit longer. I still struggle with it at times, but helping just recover overall helped. And you've talked about periodization. I liked your winter or your holiday videos where it's like, hey, if you're, don't let Christmas or Thanksgiving throw you off. Just work it into your time where you increase your calories. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think you do a good job with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, first, yeah, you're totally right with the your body I tell people your body sees stress all in one basket. So if you're stressed out from work, whatever, you're fighting with your wife or your kids are giving you a hard time, you're not sleeping well, you're sick, you caught a cold, you're training at the gym, you're hitting it hard, you're hitting the weights, you're training for a triathlon. I mean, you can't do all these things, right? Some lever has to be backed off on while you're pulling hard on one or the other. And sometimes it means backing off most of those things, let yourself totally heal because all this stuff can be cumulative. So it's not always an acute thing. It's just over time. Like, well, it's a lot of people tell me, hey, I've been doing the same thing for years. How come it's not a problem? It's like, because you've been doing it for years and you're pretty tough, but now you've hit the wall. It's just all caught up with you. Now we need to take a break. I'll have them take a couple of weeks off of training, either just taking walks and something like that, real light. And all of a sudden they're back. They're feeling great. It's not about maybe my thyroid is off, maybe my testosterone needs to be up or that kind of deal. And now they're back and feeling good. But yeah, with the holiday dieting, and I framed it in a way too, like, your office mates are probably trying to sabotage you too. If you're doing good things, don't let them do that. And, at the end of the holidays, when everyone's standing around complaining about their holiday weight gain, you could tell them how, all you gained was 3 pounds and you're pretty sure it was all muscle because you had it timed right.
Yeah.
I like the idea. If you time it right, if you know you're going into a time of where you're going to have some caloric surplus, leverage that. Right? So maybe you have a diet leading into the holiday season, you get nice and lean, and now you're in a mass phase where you're going to eat a little bit of a surplus. You eat your way through the holidays, and those extra holiday meals and treats are part of the plan, and they're not. It's not a problem. So everyone else is stressed about, oh, I gained 10 pounds of fat over the holidays. Maybe you gained a few pounds of muscle and maybe a pound of fat and you're still feeling good and you're on track. You could definitely, these things are definitely doable and just work it into what you're doing. And that could be a vacation. That could be whatever it might be. I'm a fan of dieting into a vacation, even if it's a short diet to lose a little bit of fat. And you kind of fill back out over the vacation a little bit. You don't feel like a slob. You actually feel good.
Yeah. Even the holiday stuff, I was like, man, I'm carbed up and my lifts were good because, I'd been in a deficit and then now getting decent calories, I'm carved up. So the muscles were good and full. My lifts were strong and it just felt good. And I was like, okay, this is how you're supposed to do it, instead of just falling out of everything completely. And then still now, March, still trying to undo that for summer.
Yeah. No, there's something to planning. I mean, just like planning your diet, you plan your exercise and you pair them together. And you have, your periods are really, you're pedal to the metal, but ramping, slowly ramping it up. And then maybe you're leveling out and staying steady. And then kind of coming back down if we're talking about, muscle gain and fat loss. So you definitely can't just go, because if you could always keep gaining all the time, you would just get infinitely strong, right? You can't go to the gym and just keep increasing your lifts every time and more sets, more weights, all of it all the time. You would just get infinitely stronger and huge and everyone would be happy, right? It would be fantastic. But then you have people trying to do that and then they mix their goals. They're like, well, I'm trying to get bigger for 2 weeks and then they decide they want to diet because they look too fat. So, well, you probably started your muscle gain diet too fat to begin with. Get yourself super lean where you're feeling like, man, I've really milked the hell out of this diet. Give yourself a little bit of time to recover for a month or so. And then you hit your muscle gain diet. And again, if you plan that around some other activities, it just all fits in good. Whether it's holidays or a vacation, can work really nice.
Do you program like in yourself or anything like deload weeks where you're purposely not doing as much, not trying to redline your workouts?
I do. So I try to do like a progressive thing and I'll vary how many weeks it is. And it usually surrounds a trip. Right. So a deload week, if I'm timing it right, I know I'm going to be away somewhere. I don't like to, working on a vacation. I just try to keep that to doing things like, maybe some push-ups, maybe some, lots of walking, swimming, that kind of thing. So I'll try to plan it up into a vacation. Maybe the deload is the vacation. But if not, if there's a period of time where there's a couple of months I'm not going somewhere, I'll do like maybe 6-ish weeks or so. And then week 7, take a deload week where it's a half volume, half load thing, just let my body heal up. And then start a little bit lower volume wise and intensity wise from where I was, and then ramp it back up again. I think taking those running starts really helps. And you're not doing, actually, you can't just be balls to the wall all the time. It just doesn't work. Or it does work for a period of time and then something breaks. You get sick, you get injured, or your progress stalls out. Now you're just grinding all the time. And again, then you get sick and injured anyway. And your body makes you take that break. So I think
Yeah,
the
that's
planned breaks, there's something to it.
yeah.
I think it's helpful.
That's how I have traditionally planned my deload weeks is just once something breaks, my
Right.
body's like, oh, it's like, okay, well, this is my deload week now because I just can't physically do anything. And so,
Yeah. And sometimes
I'm,
it's just a gnarly cold too, right? You're doing that during cold and flu season because if you're
yep.
that, again, stress, your body sees stress all in one basket. You kind of impair your immune system a little bit. You're a little, and now you're exposed to all these bugs. Boom, there you go. Now you're sick, and now there's your week off. It would have been a lot
Yeah,
more fun
exactly.
spent on a vacation or just chilling out, getting some other tasks around the house done. But that's how you end up. And I'll see people say, no, you don't need to do that. It's all about intuitive training and all this stuff. Okay, maybe if you're a professional athlete or something, but even they periodize. So I don't know how much you think you're better than an Olympic athlete or some other pro. Probably not.
Yeah, and even, Olympic athletes, they still do the majority of their cardio in zone 2, and then they have their, 10-20%, if that, in, those higher zones, and so even though zone 2 feels boring, have been implementing it a lot more. It's been decent. I can work while I do it on the treadmill and stuff, and so I kinda like that. I have to almost do something else at the same time that I'm
Mhm.
doing it. But I've been trying to implement more zone 2 specifically into my workouts.
Yeah, I should probably have a little more just clear headspace when I do my zone 2. I'm usually listening to a podcast and answering emails at the same time when I'm on the bike.
I think that's the way
Probably
to
be
do it, you
Yeah, and it
know?
feels good. You get a couple of things done, but also you don't feel, you don't get that relaxing. It's not like going out for a run in nature or something or a hike and you're not clearing your head. But it is good. You feel like you didn't waste the time, right? If you're gonna go do the thing for 40 minutes on the bike or whatever it might be, you feel like you were, maybe a little more productive. That point with the zone 2 is interesting because I think there is a line too. You get those athletes, they're just doing so much damn volume. You're right, they couldn't just keep adding these high effort things, and even their zone 2 is pretty high effort not
Right.
for them. A normal person, though, like, hey, you go with a pro triathlete for their zone 2 work, it's gonna be full out effort for you.
I
They're gonna
wouldn't be able to
crush you.
keep up. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they wouldn't even they'd just be gone, like, "I'll see you. I'll pick you up later."
Yeah.
But for general population or people who aren't super hard trainers too, it gets into how much do you mix that too? So a little bit of high intensity stuff can be good too. I think it's
Yeah.
good to have some of that in there with that without a doubt. I think priority of exercise should be, weight training. You need to have some resistance training, non-negotiable, good for everyone, good for muscle health, good for bone health, good for everything. I mean, even improves your balance if you're doing, if you're not if you're doing some sort of standing exercises or various different things, definitely good for all those things. Definitely get some walking in your day. I think every day you should be, you need to be moving just to undo all the stuff we do with the rest of our lives, sitting at a desk, shoulder forward, you're texting, you're typing, you're driving. Just get up and open things up, go for a walk. Good for everything. I mean, people have all these aches and pains and chronic little things that are bothering them. If you got up a little bit more, it would help a whole hell of a lot of it.
Yeah, I try to do a one high intensity interval day kind of for the intense, like the assault bike is what I use,
Oh, nice.
and it sucks. It
Yeah.
murders me. And I'll try it's whatever I feel like that day. I'd say the most known is the kind of Tabata intervals that are like 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off for four. And it is just brutal. Some days I'll do two on, two off for more sets. Sometimes I'm just doing like one and one, but I'll try and have a day where I do a pretty hard interval session as well.
Yeah. Are you actually
But
doing that full Tabata?
yeah, because the assault bike, if I don't make the full 4 minutes, it's still like I can still like die for 4 minutes, even if it's like my heart rate's not even keeping up because
Sure, sure.
I'm just, my muscles gave out before that, but you can still move. I tried it once a week or so, still suck at it. I don't know when it gets better, if it ever gets better.
Yeah, it's probably gradually increasing under the hood there. Yeah, it's interesting because you had to balance, intensity and duration. Can't go, the shorter you go, the harder you can go. So,
Right.
where do you kinda cut that off? So I've seen some good ones too, even if you do like a 20-second all out bout, just as hard as you can go, bear's chasing you. Go for it,
Yeah.
20 seconds, you need to get the hell out of there. Then alternate that with a minute of just
Hmm.
kinda relax and cruise, and then hit it for another 20, and you do, you're maybe doing like 4 rounds of that. That's
Yeah.
pretty darn good. They say that could be the equivalent of like 40 minutes of zone 2 as far as, maybe
Really?
cardio, and you're getting
Yeah.
you're getting different adaptations too, right? You for sure. There's something
Yep. Yep.
special about the zone 2. There's some extra benefit for your heart. So having them both mixed is really nice. But as far as like caloric expenditure and just building cardiovascular fitness, it's supposed to be pretty darn close. So I like the idea of mixing them, right? But you just need to balance it all out, and it definitely shouldn't be at the expense of of other things. So maybe if you're getting your weight training, you check that box, and now
Yep.
you're doing some walking, you've checked that box. You have a little time for some cardio. Okay, pick one or both of those and mix a few sessions of those in there. You have it mostly covered. I think that checks a lot of your exercise boxes if you're doing that.
Yeah. One of the things that is really big that some of my guys struggle with is sleep.
Yeah.
I'll run through my kind of sleep stuff, but what are your sleep tips for guys and gals?
So I think one of the biggest things with sleep is duration in bed versus duration of sleep. So people, it's just like diet. Oh, my sleep is fine. I sleep 7 hours a night, and then they move on, right? Hold on. Let's talk about this. Do you wake up? Do you feel refreshed? Are you waking up in the night? Do you track your sleep? If I don't push people to go, buy an expensive device, but they are getting cheaper and cheaper. I wear an Aura
Hmm.
ring. I feel like it tells me lots of good stuff. I mean, I don't need a device to tell me I had a crappy night's sleep most of the time, but sometimes it'll reveal a pattern. Like the thing, your resting heart rate went down later than usual last night. You're like, well, I had a steak at 9 p.m. That's might be what happened there. Or you had a couple of beers close to bedtime. Like, well, that's what this does to me. So I think, really kind of actually quantifying that sleep and seeing how much time they're actually sleeping, because everyone needs a different amount too. Some people might need 9 hours of actual sleep. That might mean 10 and a half hours in bed, where someone
Yep.
else might be a super efficient sleeper. They hit the cot and they're out and they sleep 7 hours. They wake up, they get on with their day. And then there's the quality of the sleep in there too. If you're tracking it, how much deep sleep are you getting? How much REM sleep are you getting? If you're getting, an hour plus of each of those, you're probably feeling pretty darn good. If you're getting two of each, you're feeling great. That's what I've seen with people. And if they could try to, if they want a metric to chase, those are some pretty good ones. And I've seen people get two of each in 7 hours. Right? They have a schedule. They do their thing, which leads into another part of it. I think if they have, having a scheduled bedtime is huge. I notice it
Hmm.
myself. Do I do it all the time? I don't. I've been extra bad about it recently even. You get to bed at, 10 o'clock instead of 11 o'clock, huge difference. You're just going to get that extra time is going to be extra quality sleep. So it's not even just the duration, it's the amount of actual quality sleep you're going to end up missing out on. So keeping a good duration of sleep, a good cadence of your waking hours, I think is a real important thing. Sleep hygiene is huge. If you have a TV on in the bedroom or some other bright light, or it's not cool in there, it should be cool, dark, no distractions. Maybe a noise machine if you're someone who likes that kind of thing. Um, Avoiding blue light before bed if you can, right? So dim the house, dim the lights in the house, or have just warm lights instead of more blue lights. And that includes things like your giant TV that's blaring this amazing amount of blue
Yeah.
light into your face, or even your phone. It's like on your phone, you could put like I forget what they call it, night watch or night mode or something like that. And the screen turns a little bit more red, and your computer can do it too. Even wearing blue blocker glasses, they're wacky looking, but there's something to it. You kind of feel the volume get turned down a little bit if you put on some blue blockers for the last 2 hours of your night. I think especially if you need to be in front of a computer or a TV or on your phone, it can be a nice thing. So I like all that stuff. Managing the front side of the day is a big thing with sleep too. I think first thing in the morning, as soon as you can, get outside, get as much daylight on your face and in your eyes and on your skin as you can. It's going to kind of set your day up. If you ever notice you go on a beach vacation or something, or you're out, camping or hiking or whatever it might be, and you're out early or out doing some work in the yard, or people who work outside, it makes for great sleep because you're up, your rhythm's reset, your circadian rhythm sees this bright morning light the way it should be. You're getting it when it should be. Then if you come home at the end of the day and have that light the same way, boom, it really comes in. I think those are some really big ones. Some people, their diet can make a big difference. They eat too early or eat too late. Some people actually need some food in their belly to be able to sleep better. I can't, I have to eat within a couple hours of bed or I'm going to wake up hungry. Some people, if they eat too late, especially if it's heavy, now they're getting some reflux, or their heart rate stays higher longer than it should, and it's not restful sleep. So finding out what that means for you is an important thing. And then there's some supplements from there. It depends upon how people are doing.
What supplements do you like?
So I'm a big fan of magnesium. I like magnesium glycinate at night. I think it's a real
Yep.
good one. Well tolerable. It's not going to give you big GI effects, but a little bit. So you get that. It's always nice to start your day with clean things out just a little bit, but it's not a big dramatic thing. So it keeps you healthy
Yeah.
there. I like melatonin. And I've seen a lot of talk on this too. Maybe it's just better for older folks versus not so much for younger. I'm not young anymore. Personally take 10 milligrams per night. I think it's great. I've had guys ramp up way, way higher than that. I have a bunch of guys taking 40 milligrams per night and just slowly
Nice.
got up to it. They do really good with it. So I'm a fan there. Glycine, like 5 to 10 grams of glycine. That could be a nice added thing. You get that as like a powdered supplement. I don't take that every day, but I will mix that into, I call it my night drink. So I have some fiber in there, some psyllium husk, my creatine, a little bit of glycine in there, and shake that thing up. But yeah, glycine
Nice.
can be nice. Just kind of turns down the volume a little bit. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that one too.
That's
How
kind
about
of what
you?
I
What
have.
kind of stuff do you like?
I kind of have a Chilton, a mocktail of our mag glycinate is strawberry flavored, and I do a scoop of mag
Oh,
glycinate, and I do 5 grams of glycine as well.
yeah,
And
it's
that's
sweet
kind
too.
of
The
my
glycine is sweet.
Yep, and it's kind of my last little like, this is me cooling, and my body knows it's kind of cooling down. But I kind of have the same approach. Like, so one of the things, I run in the mornings every other day now, and I think the morning sun, like I run, it's still dark, and the sun comes up while I'm running, and it has been probably one of the biggest positives for my mental health more than anything. Not
Mm,
because I'm really like running. I started doing it just to improve things, but
that might
it
be a
has,
mental health condition anyway, if you said you did. So
yeah, but as a business owner, it kind of just really helped me because I'm so bad at it. I could only think of how bad I felt and like one other thing. And so it would kind of narrow my focus, and I could address things a little better. And then the sun's coming up. I'm getting that morning sun. I pray while I run. So again, it just kind of silences everything. And so like gratitude just kind of shows up naturally. And, it just kind of makes me real thankful. It's a real positive start to my day. And then afterwards, I feel like I accomplished something. I'm already at like 8 to 10,000 steps before I come and sit and chat with people all day where I don't get hardly any. And so I've really enjoyed that. With the sleep aspect, I think it has helped regulate me a little better from seeing that morning sun more frequently. And then I try and tell people, guys, caffeine is probably our most abused drug. And
real long
it,
half-life, like a 12-hour half-life on caffeine. So everyone has
yeah,
their
you
own
just,
cutoff when they can stop, and it's a moving target too.
exactly, and so it's like, I really have to stop my caffeine by noon, or the Aura Ring, I wear one too. It has like I have now run more experiments on myself because I struggle with getting my deep sleep decent. And if I
Yeah.
have caffeine after noon, my deep sleep's gonna suffer. If I have one alcohol drink within 2 hours of going to bed, I will have poor deep sleep. I kind of always trial and erring with that. And then I kind of have the same routine, tell guys colder, darker, rest of the house, try and wind down, try and limit. Again, some do really well, no calories 90 minutes prior. Some need a little bit. I kind of like to go to bed where I have a little bit of something in my stomach where I just won't. I'll be thinking about that more than anything. But even like the little lights, you have something plugged in and there's a little light on, it's like cover that because that can make a difference.
Oh, yeah, it could be the light on your TV, on a smoke detector,
Yep.
any of that stuff.
Your body can pick that up somehow, and it can kind of limit it. And then showering at night kind of lowers your body temperature, lets it know it's time, go to
Yeah,
bed. That
that's a good one.
helps.
That's a good one too. Yeah, hot shower if you have access to, a sauna or, even a hot
Yep.
tub can all be good, all good things.
And then you got to make your bed not your place to go and think. I'd say a lot of guys and gals are very stressed out throughout their day. And, it's like, I imagine your population of hormone optimization for men and women are pretty high functioning individuals. And so they have a lot of things to go on throughout their day. They have kids, they're getting here, getting there. There's no time to think ever. And so the bed becomes their place of thinking. And then they say, I can't go to sleep because I can't turn my mind off,
Yeah,
where they
just in that
wake
room and
up.
you think, "What do I need to do?" Or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Yeah, you're better off getting up and making a list or getting the thing done than sitting there.
Yeah, do something boring, something is going to make you drowsy, but get out of the bed. Don't make your bed the place that you think. Make your bed the place. I kind of say 3 S's: sex, sleep, or if you're sick, you can go to bed and be
Right.
in bed. But really, you just make your bed your place of recovery. And that's a tough one. That's something I still work on myself is if I wake up a lot of times it's hard for me to shut down. So I'll have to get up, go do something, just kind of take my mind off of it for a little bit and then come back. And sometimes I'll go back to sleep. But melatonin works well for me. And I'm even younger. I alternated day shift, night shift in the ER for a long time. And luckily I take 5 milligrams, I chew it up and I can set an alarm in about 30 minutes. I'm going to be out. So whenever I was
Oh, nice.
alternating, it helped me fall asleep during the day better. And so it works well for me. We have some that do well. We kind of have a mixture, 5-HTP, GABA, phosphatidylserine. Some do really well with those. I'm not like pushing that on everybody, but we'll trial it if the mag isn't quite cutting it. But mag's my favorite. Mag glycinate is
Oh, yeah.
probably my
That's
top
an easy
dog.
call. Most people would benefit from it too. You're just taking the edge off the nervous system in general. That works really good for people who just feel a little bit restless when they're laying in bed too. There's something to it. It takes the edge off.
Yep.
I'm a fan.
Yep. And it just helps, like you said, digestion, nervous system, relaxation, muscle soreness. And so I don't recommend like across the board supplements to a lot of people, but like
Mm.
most people can benefit from creatine, magnesium. Almost everybody is deficient in vitamin D, and then
Yeah.
protein supplementation if they need to get further proteins, kind of my
Yeah. I agree there. I agree
supplement
there too.
stack.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw fish oil in there just if unless people are actually eating fish more than a few times per week, like some fatty fish. Most people just don't. There's something good about fish oil. Good for your skin, good for muscle recovery, good for everything. So I'm a fan of a little bit of fish oil too.
Yep, that's my fifth one. Just high dose, 2 to 4 grams, mix of EPA,
Nice.
DHA. I think and make sure you get it from a good brand so you don't get rancid fish oil.
Yeah. Well, they say the good test for that is you could chew one up and you're gonna know real quick if it's rancid or not.
I know we have a good brand and I'm still too scared to do it.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. Maybe I'll try it later and see. But yeah, if you're
Yeah,
getting some rancid burps or something, you're like, oh, there might be something. You got too good a deal, too good to be true. It might be right. It might have been too good to be true.
right,
Probably
right.
not what you needed there. Yeah, yeah. So, it's interesting, we were talking about lifestyle and TRT and deprescribing some medications. I had a real interesting case last week. This is a guy, I was seeing him for about 6 months. He came to me first time on testosterone. I take that back. Actually, he was a transfer from another clinic, right? So he was with me for 6 months and a few months before that only. So 31-year-old guy, not exercising a whole lot, had some fat to lose, had some life stressors, at the same time though. So he moved to a new place, got a new job, got a new house, still working on the stress part there. That's all leveling out. He had to get a surgery, an orthopedic surgery, and his surgeon wanted him to stop the TRT. Which, it's tough. I don't blame them for saying that. If you look at the
Right.
literature, technically there is a statistical difference for clots that shows up in there, but like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I would personally do it, but at any rate, so this guy stops his TRT. But in the meantime, after I talked to him, right, so now it's been 6 months, he's been going to the gym religiously. He's been meal prepping, eating mostly good meals. His wife's on board doing the same thing, so it's even better. Everyone's eating and exercising. They got a new house. You put a home gym in there, so now they're even more invested in all this stuff. He's feeling pretty great. This knee thing was an old thing, and he finally just got it addressed. So he came off the testosterone, and he's like, "Huh, I really don't feel much different. I feel pretty good." So he calls me, and we're talking about it. He's like, do I restart it? What do I do?" So I said, "It's tough because symptom resolution is king." That's what I always
Yep.
say. I know you think similar, a similar way. If you feel great, I mean, what are we treating here? What are we doing, right? So and then we got to the discussion of, do we want to test some labs and see what's going on? It would be super interesting to see. I know I'm interested in seeing it. And
Yeah.
and he kind of went back and forth on it. He's like, "Man, I don't even know if I want that information. I think I just want to let it ride. I feel good. Can we just talk again if that changes?" I said, "I think that's fine. I think there's something to that because there is some psychology to seeing the numbers and like, oh man, I am low though. Now all of a sudden you start feeling like crap again." So I thought that was interesting, and I hated to see him go. Great guy, we always had great chats, just a cool dude, somebody you'd want to go
Yeah.
go hang out with. But yeah, he just didn't need it anymore, right? So deprescribed the testosterone, and he's doing great. He's feeling good. Maybe we reconnect in 10 years or something when he's a little older and needs it a bit more. But I thought that was pretty interesting because a lot of times you don't see that opportunity. and to have all those things come together? And how often would you want to test something like that and see, like, are you actually back? Do you need this stuff ongoing with a younger guy?
Yeah, no, I would say like, say somebody just meets me and, if like I work at a testosterone and hormone optimization clinic and they're always like, well, what's the testosterone need to be? Like, should I go test mine? And my next question is always like, how do you feel? And they're like, well, I feel good. I'm not really struggling anything. And I tell them, probably don't go check it, because if it's not what you think it's going
Mm,
to be, then you're going to want to be on it, whether you're, wanting to or not, because psychologically you're like, disappointed with a 320 when you thought you'd be 700, but you just told me you felt good. And so I don't want you to embark on this journey and do it if like your day to day is a pretty solid baseline. And like that number, it doesn't always mean anything. I have guys, so this is dependent on the SHBG, but like I have guys at 700 who I put on testosterone. Typically they're high SHBG guys, low free testosterone. But then I also have guys who I put on testosterone and I just get them to 700 and they feel amazing. It's like, so
mm.
the number isn't always the end all say all. On the flip
Yeah,
side, I have a couple guys that were documented low hypogonadism, but they felt good. And I just said, well, let's optimize lifestyle overall and not embark, even though you're low, and just see how you do. And I've never had anybody, and if you have had anybody, let me know. I've never really had anybody go from like 250 to 750, or get, like a free testosterone of 5 to 20 just on lifestyle alone. But they felt pretty good where they just ultimately didn't need it. And I've had a few that I worked with even for years, and then they did have a decline, and then I ultimately put them on it, but it wasn't, their initial number of 250 wasn't a knee jerk, oh, you have to have it. It's like, let's clean up some stuff and see where it goes. But have you had
yeah.
anybody go from like a dramatic free testosterone of like 5 to 20 or anything like that?
No, I really haven't. I really haven't. I mean, the free number moves a couple of points. Maybe the total moves even like a couple hundred. But again,
Yeah.
now SHBG is moving too. We're just we're reshuffling the chairs here, right? So you just have a little more free and a little less total, something like that. But no, nothing significant. It's not what people want it to be. They don't go from 250 to 900. It's just not happening. But same thing though too. Sometimes they just feel better. There's so many other things going on. It wasn't just and it could be they would still feel even better with the testosterone, but they've just have felt like such crap from living so poorly that we fixed
Yeah.
them. And maybe that's a good patch for now. Milk that for a while and let's see how you do. Different thoughts on there. Do you optimize everything all at the same time? Maybe. I don't know. I'm a fan of maybe not having to take as many medications if you don't have to. Maybe that's terrible salesmanship here. Talking more, talking people talking people out of instead of into it. Yeah, no, I haven't seen any real big changes like that. And especially the older you get. I have a lot of older guys who are stubborn. They look at it as a kind of like a defeating thing. Oh, I don't want to have to take testosterone. I'm less of a man. I'm going to try this. And then they'll come back and see me and it's 6 months later. And then it's 6 months later again. And finally it's like, man, it's been a couple of years. How are you feeling? Unless you're telling me you're feeling great, maybe it's time to pull a trigger on something. But yeah, definitely doesn't make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I've had a couple, it's like by the time they come to see me, then they're curious about something, it's like, do I get my testosterone and stuff? And I'm also a pretty bad salesman in a sense of like, I try to not, like, social media glamorizes it that it's going to be the end all. It's going to fix everything in your life. It's going to fix your broken marriage and your poor
Right.
job and everything. And, it's like, well, let me tell you all of the actual things with testosterone, and then you can decide if you want. And so, sometimes I halfway talk them out of it, and then they'll come back to me. It's like, what I don't want them to do is, instead of kind of changing some stuff up, they go and they get, this 3 a.m. Commercial testosterone booster, and then they show up with this, instead of the daily tadalafil, they'll go get this almost gas station pill that has 50,000 ingredients. And I'm like, I don't know what any of these are. I can't tell you. They're like, hey, would this work? Is this safe? And I'm like, I can tell you that a daily tadalafil is safe. I cannot tell you one of these is safe, much less the mixture of them.
Right. Plus,
It's
I
like,
can't tell you what's actually in there. I know what it says on the label, but
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. And then people look at that and say, "Oh, I'm doing it the natural way." Like, really? You're gonna pick these pills grow in a bush somewhere? Show me that. Where's that shrub?
No,
Where's the
this is just
testosterone booster pill shrub? You're out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That point you made about young guys checking their levels, I think that's super interesting 'cause that kinda came back up, and I think we were talking about it a little bit too when they had when the FDA panel was talking. One of the panelists on there was talking about how we don't even screen for this. Maybe we should be checking into young guys so they know where their levels are. So I'm kinda with you too. Is it worth doing or not? How helpful is it versus harmful? I think a lot of it depends upon your personality and how you're gonna take that information. What are you gonna
Hmm.
do with that? Are you gonna see it's low and now it's gonna be in your head and, it's not gonna be a good thing. But then I also think it could be helpful to know too, right? You're feeling bad and now it's later on. Where were you before? How much did it actually drop?
Yeah,
And
that is a
then there's a ma
good point of it.
right?
Like get a baseline when you feel good, so
Mhm.
but you just have to know yourself on like, okay, well, if I'm expecting it to be 600 and it's 450, is that going to make me jump on board, even though I
Yeah.
feel good and come with all
Yeah,
the
if you can just
nuances?
accept it as a data point and nothing else, and that's all it is, I think it's fine. It's like checking your weight, and it is what it is. If you thought you wanted to be under 200 pounds, but you look at yourself in the mirror, like, "Holy crap, this is what I was going for," and you get on the scale and you're 210, who cares? Who cares what the
Yeah,
scale says? Interesting, write it down, great, let's track it, but who cares? And then with the testosterone levels too, you mentioned, some people with low levels can actually feel great. There's more than the level going on too. What are the receptors in your body doing? How are you maybe you're a super responder. You don't need as much. What are your, even, what are your CAG repeats like? So how do you use this stuff? Are you someone that it's just who you are? You don't need a whole lot of this.
yep,
So yeah, it doesn't mean a whole lot without the correlation with symptoms. But totally, I think it's a big problem. These, you hop on TikTok. You're 24 years old. You see all these guys talking about their TRT plus cycles. You test
yeah.
yours. It's a little bit low, and you think you need to be on this. Man, it's a lot of years of poking yourself or, shutting yourself down for no good reason.
Yeah, and just work with, the social media can just glamorize it. And then you go to a chain clinic or something and they will put anything with a pulse on it. And they just check
Mm,
a spot check testosterone and nothing else. And, it's like work with somebody who, knows testosterone well. I'd say seek, again, this is bias, but, take it with whatever. But, seek somebody that, like an owner operated clinic, that takes pride in the work that they do. And, a lot of times I'll say people come to me with these like crazy protocols where they're spending tons and tons of money. And I'm like, let's clean this up. And I take everything out except the testosterone. They come on gonadorelin and,
right.
their aromatase inhibitor, and they come on, their extra injections that they're doing, a peptide or two. And they're like, yeah, I dropped you know, $4,000 for 3 months of stuff, and it's like, look, 1, you're too new into this. This is too many variables. 2, you don't need the aromatase inhibitor. 3, I don't use gonadorelin. I don't think that it's, powerful enough to, overcome the HPTA axis whenever you're on testosterone and you don't have a pump to be doing it. So let's get that out of the way. And so it's like, okay, well, now I'm just left the testosterone. That's all you need for the vast majority of guys. That's just what you need. And let's dial that in. And then we can bring in peptides and stuff if you want. And, maybe we'll do some glutathione and, some other ancillary stuff. But let's again do the foundation.
Oh, for sure.
Let's get your lifestyle in check. Let's optimize your testosterone. And then we can play with some other stuff.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, the lifestyle stuff is definitely all the big rocks, and then, the hormones come in there as kinda, like these medium, large rocks, and it trickles down from there. All these other things are 1% things, and too many of those 1% things might send things in the wrong direction. Now you feel like crap, we don't know what it is. Like you talk about the blockers, I'll have guys come to me and they're blocking their estrogen, they're blocking their DHT.
Yeah,
And
forgot about that
sadly,
too.
the DHT blocker, it blows me away. There's so many guys who are, taking this stuff, because of fear of losing their hair. They're not even really losing it. They're maybe shedding a little bit, right? So I'm talking to him, I'm looking, I'm like, "I don't know, man. You have a lot of hair. What are we talking about here?" Like, "Well, I have a family history of it, or if I wash my hair, sometimes I see a couple hairs in my hand." Like, "Dude, what are you doing? In the meantime, you're blocking this wonderful hormone. It's gonna
Such a
have all kinds of
powerful,
negative
yep.
stuff." Right, so you're not losing your hair, even if you were. It's like, great, now your penis doesn't work. How's that for a trade-off? Was that a good deal? Man.
Yeah. And I mean, they have just positive, even metabolites from there, like they're from testosterone. They're they're the features, not a bug. You get
Mhm.
probably 60% of the testosterone benefits are from the estradiol, and then DHT, you don't want to block that. And it has so many other metabolites downstream. It's
Right.
very positive in terms of it's more androgenic. And so it's just something
Yeah,
that
and
I
you're
don't
not
want to
blocking the
mess with,
stuff
guys.
symmetrically either, right? You don't know
Nope.
which one you're blocking more. So it can be a problem too. Where is it getting blocked the most? You have all these things. It's not just that lab number. It's like what did you knock out in here? It's not you can't you're not it's not that surgical when you're
Yeah.
blocking
And
stuff. You're really messing up a lot of processes.
where the serum levels are basically garbage, like we're not
Mhm.
trying to get any specific ratios or anything. Like I don't even check DHT or estradiol levels, and guys will want to
Yeah.
come in and have them checked. And it's like, well, I mean, it's just not really reflective of what's going on in the tissues. We can check it, but they're probably more inactive metabolites. They're not going to exert much effect that people think they do. And again,
Yeah,
the
I
effect they
check it
do
for
have,
guys if they really want to. I take it if they
yeah,
really want to. I try to talk them out of it, and then I say the same thing. What are we going to do with this information? Because
yeah,
you're gonna see a number, you're gonna get if it's gonna spin you out, let's just not even check it. Because 'cause you're telling me, what you're telling me, I don't think is what's causing this.
yeah.
Sometimes I've seen it go both ways with that.
And now we're back to, again, work with a good clinician that knows how to do the hormones and everything so you can get a better
Mhm.
protocol. Most of these symptoms that they're going to attribute to the estradiol is typically just poor protocol stuff. And so I'll give an example of a guy. This happened, unfortunately, to both a husband and wife, but they went to just a med spa and got pellets placed. And this guy started having abnormal. I'll do the guy's route first. He started having, some symptoms that he just wasn't, super thrilled with. And so they're like, well, it's probably your estrogen. Take this estrogen blocker. And they didn't really do much more than that. Then he started having sweaty, hot flashes, palpitations, anxiety. And so then he went to his PCP because the med spa just kind of kicked him out, and went to his PCP, who then referred him to cardiology, who had a Holter monitor. And he said he was sweating in their office, EKG, everything looked normal. And they just said, well, just don't be so anxious. And come find out he was
Knock
on
it
this
off.
high dose of aromatase inhibitor. And he stopped that and his symptoms got better. And
Mm,
then now he finally worked his way to me and was able to do kind of the smaller, more frequent injection. He feels great, and the wife
yeah.
was the same deal. She got these pellets placed and had breakthrough vaginal bleeding, who then they kicked her to OBGYN, and then she got endometrial biopsy and had this big workup, ultrasounds, endometrial biopsy, and ultimately was told, yeah, your pellets are too high. You're just going to have to write it out. But there was no like increase in progesterone or expected management, and they couldn't adjust it from the pellets that were placed. And so it was like there was no expected management, there was no dose. And so that's why I
Hold
don't use
on.
pellets in my practice, and it's like
Hold on and
you
wait
would,
for this to wear off.
yep, it is to be like, I mean, I think I would have tried increasing progesterone, see if that'll help or something, but they
Yeah, a little
just kicked
symptomatic
her out.
treatment.
Yeah, they just kicked her out. And, both of them, I think, were handled poorly. And,
Yeah, it doesn't
sometimes
sound like a great experience.
you just don't realize, I think sometimes patients don't realize like, okay, this is what we prevent. You just come in and we put you on a testosterone dose. And, I think we start with a decent protocol and they typically feel better, 8 weeks follow up, the labs improve, they feel better. And there's not the whole rigmarole whenever you get these poor protocols and poor management
Yeah.
and being bounced around and taking, a year before you even start finally worked your way to a decent protocol after fighting and tooth and nail to it. It's like, oh, we got you there right off the bat.
Well, almost every patient I see who has some weird things going on, like, oh, we just can't get dialed in. I was at this other place for a year or two. We just can't figure it out. There's always some added thing that's in there, some wacky thing. And sometimes it
Yep.
doesn't come out right away because maybe they're getting it from somewhere else too. Like they're taking, a DHT blocker. They don't mention that, finally 2 visits in, I'm like, wait a minute. This wasn't on your med list. You didn't say this before. Like, oh, I didn't think it was related. No, it's all related. I need to know this. And also, yeah, this might be what's causing you trouble. We get them off the extra junk and boom, they're feeling good.
Yep.
It's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah. So I think as far as, like prescribing lifestyle, a lot of people are also confused about what that means and what they have to do. I was just talking to a patient a couple days ago and she was literally afraid of weight training. Her experience was getting profoundly sore and like debilitating DOMs for a week and then not wanting to do it again and scared to do it again and maybe pushing herself for a couple of weeks and finally giving up. So every time she went to the gym, she got bad advice from a trainer or a friend. She's like, leg day was the worst. Like, I hated not being able to walk. It's like, it doesn't have to be like that. In fact, it shouldn't be.
No, yeah. No,
Easy, you
yeah.
take the easy win. She's like, well, no, no, no. You always have to do at least 3 sets and you have to do them as hard as you can. Otherwise, it's not doing anything. It's like, I, could we let's get the person who told you this on the phone. I really want to have a talk with them. This is
Yeah.
obnoxious. This is crazy. Why'd they do this to you? So now this nice lady, she's like, yeah, I just do cardio because I can't do the other. So it blew her mind that there was this progressive thing and that, she could take the free, easy win that, maybe you just need one set of squats on leg day, and you do 'em moderately hard, leave a couple reps in the tank, you're not going to failure, and then see how you recover, and you kinda build from there. And she was, "Holy crap, I'll try that. I didn't know that was a thing." So it's interesting. The commitment people think they have to make and the amount of effort they think they have to make, it's not as big as you think. I mean, even
Y
something like 2 days a week of you could do
Yep,
2 days a week of 30 minutes of weight training if you wanna do some,
exactly.
like, some supersets, some exercises. It's gonna be work. You're gonna work up a sweat and get your heart rate up, but, you're also not gonna kill yourself. You're gonna recover for the next session, and then you're gonna progress, right? That might mean a little more volume in your sessions, a little heavier weight, or it might mean you like it better and this was a gateway, and now you're like, "Man, I wanna go, 2 days a week isn't enough. That makes me feel too good. It makes my head feel too good. Can I do
Yep.
4?" "Yeah, sure. Let's add that in there. Let's do it." So there's more than one way to do it, and it doesn't even have to include the gym. All the people, they say, "I don't have time. I don't have time." Well, you come home from work 2 days out of the week and you're watching TV, a commercial comes on, give me a set of push-ups. You can't do push-ups, you're doing push-ups on your knees. Do a couple of those and then a couple of rounds of squats for the same thing, a couple times per week for 6 months, and let's see how you feel. And again, a lot of times those people, it's the same thing. Like, "Man, what's next? Should I buy some weight? Should I join the gym? What do I do?" Because they start feeling good. So it doesn't take a lot, but no one tells this to people, right? Your doctor doesn't tell you this, your clinic probably doesn't tell you this, and it's huge. It's a talk that has to happen.
I thought you were gonna say the woman was scared that she was gonna get too bulky. That's something that, we
Oh,
have.
that's another big one. No, that
Yeah,
happens too. I promise you, yeah, I promise you if you gain too much muscle, I could help you lose it. Right? Go in
yeah,
the
and
gym and look at all the guys struggling to gain any kind of muscle. You think you're gonna wake up and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just not happening. It's
yeah,
super
you
easy
gain
to
too
lose
much
the muscle if
muscle,
you don't want it.
I'm gonna hire you, and you're gonna start training everybody here if you get bodybuilder stage ready, too
Right.
fast.
Yeah, even in the case of someone who has awesome genetics for a body part or just in general, like, I don't like how big my arms got. Great, stop training your arms. More time to do other stuff. You don't need to train like a lot of people are like that with their calves. They just have giant calves. Like, why am I gonna mess with those? So yeah, that's a good one. I'm afraid I'm gonna get too big. I have guys tell me that about starting testosterone occasionally. Hey, I don't want to
Oh,
start testosterone, so I'm worried. I just don't want to get too big. It's
it's
I
like,
promise you, I mean, if yeah, I don't money back guarantee. It's not gonna happen. You're
yeah,
gonna you're gonna be okay.
you gotta put in some work to get even close to that.
Yeah, or the amount of protein that they eat. "No, I don't wanna eat that much protein. I'm afraid I'm gonna get too muscular."
Yeah.
And I think a good point to kinda hit on too is we talk about the good principles of dieting and, the basics still apply whether you're taking GLP-1s or other modern weight loss medications or not. I think one of the things that's maybe getting lost on people is that hunger isn't it's not an emergency. So
Yeah.
long before all these medications were here, if you're going on a diet and trying to lose some, fat, it's okay to be hungry. It's not the end of the world, right? It's okay. It's just part of what it is, and you can make it through. Historically, we didn't have refrigerators and food delivery everywhere. You had to, your body would tell you, "Hey, you're hungry. It's time to get up and start thinking about getting some food." Doesn't mean you need to have it right this second. It's one of the things I don't like about the GLP-1s. I think they're great tools, but I don't like the fact that maybe people get so accustomed to that. They're like, "No, I need to shut it down even more." And I'll see that with people who really just keep trying to ramp up the dose or that, doing something like that. Part of it is, no, it's okay. It's okay to be a little bit hungry.
Yeah, and I like that, like we use compounded meds, and I think they have an advantage because you can fine tune the dosing so well. So I can really do lowest effective dose. I tell people like I don't want to crush your appetite to zero because I still want you to get 1 gram per pound of goal body weight of protein. And that's hard to do if you crush your appetite. And so it's like, use this med. And just like you said, hunger is okay. You can welcome the hunger and just be like, all right, it's there. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to make sure I get my protein in a vegetable and some fluids in. And then if I'm still hungry, then I can keep eating. But let me address these first. And this is, whether you're on a med or not, it's still kind of the how I get people to approach it. And then one of the things that another thing is coming off the med. I mean, I get that question a lot. Like, once I start this medication, this GLP-1, do I have to be on it forever? And you don't. You can use it for a short term. We have people who do really well short term, and they come off. But the hunger is going to come back a bit, and you have to be ready for it. And I tell people, like, welcome it. It's something you feel now without it. So be prepared for it and just meet that with protein, fiber, and fluids to
Yeah.
keep your satiety up as best as possible. And yeah, you may gain some of the weight back just because your baseline hunger, you were able to do 1,500 calories easily. Now you're up to 1,800, and it's still comfortable, but you have been practicing while you're on the med on making better choices and everything. And so, just go up a little bit. And, if we need to even do micro doses or anything like that, that's, trendy sounding, but I do think they have some utility. And the micro doses do have some in a way, some benefits independent of weight loss and hunger suppression. And so we'll
Sure.
still
Yeah, you
use
can
them,
have
but
some good metabolic effects. It's still going to affect your A1C. It's going to knock out inflammation in general. I think it's great for that kind of thing.
yeah, and compounding meds in that regard, they last for a long time. If you're only given whatever 0.5 to 1, if not lower, once a week, a couple times a week, or even sometimes we have people do it once every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a free pass on using the word microdosing on here because
Yeah.
because you defined it. Right,
Yeah.
'cause that's another thing people do. Yeah, I'm taking a microdose of, semaglutide, and they move on like, "Whoa, what's a microdose?" And then they tell me what they're taking. It's like, mid-range dose for what it
Yeah.
might be. "Oh,
It's like,
I'm taking a milligram and a half." Like, "Wait a minute, that's a microdose? It's like that's more than
yeah.
my average patient takes. What are we talking about?" So, no, it's less than the max though, or everyone has a different
Yeah.
definition for it. So, yeah, I always make people define what it was. So you beat me to it before I could give you too hard a time. But that brings up another good point. We were talking about periodizing, training or exercise, whether it's weight training or cardiovascular training, whatever it might be, sports. People don't realize, and this is super it just doesn't seem to be common knowledge. You should periodize your diet too. It doesn't mean, just like you can't lift weights and keep getting stronger forever or increasing volume forever. You're not just going to lose body fat forever, right? You just fade away to nothing and die. That would be it, right? So you diet for a period of time. It doesn't mean you stop what you're doing and you just go bananas and gain the weight back. No, you take a maintenance phase. You let your body heal up. So you go, which means the calories came back up. By definition, if you're in a caloric deficit, you're losing weight. So the calories are down for a period of time. You hit where you need to be. You don't want to lose any more weight. They come back up a bit. There's your maintenance. You heal, and then you reassess. You see, do I need to lose more fat? Or maybe it's like, man, I'm super lean. I want to try the muscle gain phase here, and I'm going to go into a caloric surplus. But a lot of people, you'll hear people say, they'll say it in a way where it's, oh, once you start a diet, you have to stay on it for life. So in a way, I mean, eating well and having good habits should be for life, but the caloric deficit isn't for life. That's just nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And what people will do is they'll take that mindset and they'll just grind themselves into the ground. And the same thing, they'll just kind of break. They'll get sick. They'll start losing hair. Something bad will happen to them. Now they fall off the diet completely. Whereas if they had a planned diet, no more than a certain amount of time, no more than a certain amount of weight loss, they run that thing, boom, it's time. Look at that. We're on schedule, time for the diet break. Then things work great. They titrate that GLP-1 for that too. So now it's like, hey, if that was a perfect amount of med to keep me full at this number of calories in a deficit, by definition, you're going to need less. And for some people, that less means zero. For some people, it's, whatever it might be, half the dose, whatever it is. You back off a little bit. So I think
Yeah.
titrating the medication for the diet is smart. And it's something people don't do a lot. They just go to a clinic and they say, well, it says up the dose every 4 weeks. And they just keep upping it. And they're like, well, it didn't work for me because it made me feel sick. It's like, well, it's a lot of tirzepatide you're taking there. What are we doing?
Yeah, that we get them like that a lot too. It's like, oh, they were increasing every 2 weeks. And I was like, did you need it? And they're like, oh no, I felt great on it. It's like, why'd you increase? And like, they told me I had to. It's like,
Right, right.
dang it.
Yeah,
I
you're a
mean,
cheap
like,
date. 2.5
yeah.
milligrams of tirzepatide, you're losing weight and feeling great. Yeah, don't take more. more side
Yeah.
effects, cost you more money. That's crazy talk.
Yep. Exactly. It's like, I like lowest effective dose, stretch the med out as long as you can get from each kind of little order, and use it to help you make better choices along the way. And we've kind of talked about it. One of the fears I get a lot, or there was a study with semaglutide where it's like, oh well, a third of the weight loss was uh, lean body mass, and it's like, well, I mean, if you're getting your protein in, you're getting some resistance training again, and if you're on hormones as well, I mean, you're not going to have that lean body mass loss. We get body scans that, whether you're on hormones or weight loss, basically every appointment we get a body composition analysis. And these guys and gals that are on a GLP-1 and testosterone getting their hormones optimized, it is amazing to see how their body composition changes for the positive, and sometimes
Oh, yeah.
that's not even numbers on the scale moving, their weight number stays the same, but a guy will go up 8 pounds of muscle, be down 7% body fat, and it'd be a whole different body composition than what he
Right.
was with the same number on the scale.
Yeah, especially for someone who's new to training, you get that new training effect. You can
Yep.
gain muscle and lose fat at the same time for a good amount of time. A lot of people can milk that for a good year plus. To feel, it seems like before you had to really start getting into the ins and outs of really cycling it hard. So for those people though, I like to alternate between, so it's all fat loss phases and maintenance phases. And you just kind of zigzag like that. We didn't even think about, a true muscle gain phase until it stops working. Like,
Right.
you know what,
Yeah.
I'm not gaining any more muscle. Because if you already are, why risk gaining more fat? Just keep burning the fat and building some muscle. For most people, that works pretty darn good. I'm a fan there.
And even if
Yeah.
they're not on hormones, I mean, and you're in a calorie deficit, it's expected to lose some muscle and fat. Like that's just how it works. Of course, we want
Sure.
to mitigate as much muscle loss as we can, but it's like even up to 25%. That's a lot, but that's still acceptable. And it's not that the GLP-1s were specifically melting their muscle out; it's just they're in too steep of a deficit.
Yeah. Well, because that deficit isn't something they'd be able to sustain if they weren't on that med, because the hunger signal would be so strong for
Yeah,
someone who's already overweight. There's no way they'd be able to diet that hard that long. That's why I give people numbers too. I don't want to see them lose more than 1% per week of their body weight. Well, I have a friend who, I don't care. That's
I know. Yeah,
how'd your friend look with their clothes off? Probably like a bag of bones and skin. Like, their clothes fit better, but man, they probably don't have the look they're going for. Um, Right? So, I mean, if people like, physique athletes try not to lose more than that, and they're on all kinds of drugs and they're super dialed in and everything else, and they make it their lives, what makes you think you can do it? Like, well, my friend Sue, is losing 8 pounds a week. Like, that's great. How much hair is she losing?
I know.
How much, where'd her ass go? Did she lose her? She has the Ozempic butt, and that's what happens. But yeah, you're right. If you just keep those good principles of dieting along with it, just let the medication make the diet easier. Happy days. Just go, the rules don't change for the diet itself though. Just the meds make it a little bit easier to
Yep, yep. I agree.
yeah. We'll probably, we'll save it for another time maybe, but the idea of minimal effective dose or maximal tolerable dose is an
Yeah, with
interesting one in
hormones.
the hormone space. So we'll,
Yeah,
we'll we'll have to put that on a list of something to talk about, because there's some
that would be a
interesting
good
thoughts
topic. Yeah.
there, right? And then you cross the line into what's abuse for someone and not for someone else. That would be a fun one to talk about. Make a note of that. And we'll get back to it. But yeah, maybe to wrap it up in the last couple of minutes, what's going on with you and your training? Anything specific you've been with your diet and training? You look like you might have leaned out in the face a little bit, man. I'm seeing.
Yeah, I try to do a combo. Like, I guess if I were to I would like to be more the hybrid athlete. Like, I'm trying to it's been a balance. I'm trying to get to be a better runner, but I don't want to sacrifice strength. I keep saying I will. I'm like, I'm sufficiently strong. I'm okay if I go down. But then while I'm in the session, and if just this morning, like 365 on squat didn't move as fast as I wanted it to. And I'm like,
Yeah.
do I want to increase my calories? Do I want
Uh,
to take out more running? And it's like, no, I don't need to be doing that for the long term anyways. Like, I'm okay if it, and so this is the two different shoulders I'm talking to. And it's like, no, in the long term, you'll do better, if you're a lighter frame and a runner rather than, still trying to squat 400 pounds at
sure.
56 years old. I'm
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
tough. Depends what the
Can
goal is. A lot of times, I'll ask people to define the goal, and I will same thing with, when they say, "Oh, my diet is good," they'll say, "Oh, I wanna, look better." And like, "No, no, no, we need to, like, let's really narrow down what we're talking about," or, "I wanna be healthier." Like, no, that's not good enough. You get a real specific goal, you work towards that goal, and then sometimes you periodize those goals too, like, maybe you work on your cardio for a period of time, you dial back on the weights a bit, you just make sure you're not sliding backwards, whatever the minimum, amount of volume and, intensity you need to keep, that squat from slipping. Now you dial up the cardio a bit, and you have a plan for what that is, and you stick with it. I'm gonna do that for 3 months, and it is what it is, and, if I need to adjust a little along the way, great, but it's easy to shift gears and be like, "No, no, it's all starting to slip away," and now you're back to, you know, one
I
step
do
forward,
that.
one step back, and then, you didn't gain weight or you didn't, gain muscle, you didn't lose fat, your cardio stayed the same, your strength stayed the same, like, "Oh, crap. I should have leaned
Yeah.
into leaned into something for a little bit of time."
But no, I purposely the holidays and everything, I purposely was like, "I'm gonna use this for my strength and,
Yeah.
I'm gonna lift more at this time." And I was like, "January 1st, I'm gonna, do more of the zone 2, the cardio, and do that a little bit more." But every time I start slipping a little bit in the strength, I'm like, I want it to go back up. And so then I'm trying to
Sure.
talk myself like, again, "No, we don't need that for, longevity and everything. Let's continue to get a smaller frame and then we can build it back."
It depends about what your diet's doing along the way there too, right? Again, now if you're in a surplus or at least at maintenance, you can tolerate more of that too. If you're in a deficit and trying to lose fat, the higher intensity cardio should be probably the first thing to fall off. And then you kind of go from there. Even some of the zone two should probably fall off. You prioritize the weight training to keep the muscle, make sure you get enough protein, make sure you're losing at a good steady rate. Then you layer this other stuff in there and see what you can tolerate because you still need to recover.
What are your current goals?
I just flipped the gear here. I was in a maintenance phase. I did a little bit of we went on a vacation, so I did a little bit of a fat loss before that. Went on a trip with my brother and his family, my wife, his mother-in-law, the whole maybe like 12 of us there. So we went and did we did a Bahamas cruise and then spent a couple extra days in Florida. So a lot of beach time and sun time. So I wanted to lean out a bit. So I had a nice diet leading into that, maybe like a 10-week diet, lost a little bit of body fat. It's been a month now, so just kept that weight stable. So I'm going to try to gain a little bit of weight, try to gain a little bit of muscle. I'm not, trying to be Mr. Olympia or something here, but the older I get, I just want to make sure I'm keeping a little bit of muscle. So I'll probably do like
Yeah.
a 12 to 16 week muscle gain phase, try to gain maybe like a percent of body weight. Or I'm sorry, half a percentage of body weight per week. Right. So for
Okay.
me, that's going to be maybe somewhere around a pound, maybe even a little bit less than that, and then stretch that out, and then try not to gain more than you know like 10% of my body weight over the entire time. Those are kind of
Okay.
my guide rails for not getting too fat. And then if the
Yeah.
mirror tells me I'm too fat along the way, I'm gonna either dial it back or just, abort and go to maintenance again. So that's the way I like to run it. I think you need to it needs to have enough runway for something meaningful to happen. And then if
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to gain some weight, I want to start off, at least reasonably lean to try to get there without getting overly fat. But that's the goal. So it should be fun. Up the calories a little bit for a couple of months,
How do
see
you
how it
keep
goes.
yourself from, going off the rails? I mean, so that's I know myself, and I have to be so careful that I won't just fall off and eat my face off.
Yeah.
Do you have any how do you keep whenever you are purposely increasing, how do you stop yourself? I mean, do you just stay
Sure.
disciplined, or do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I log my calories.
Okay.
I log it, and it's all in there, and I watch it clicking throughout the day, and I have some set meals that I do, but sometimes I get to the end of the day, I'm like, "Crap, I'm 500 calories short, I better get after this thing." Other days, like, "Well, I hit the wall here. It's, I'm not having anything else. There we go." So that's really the basis of it. I track it and take a look at it, and I don't
Nice,
hold
nice.
myself. I give myself a little more leeway in this kind of phase, like, there's a day, there might be a day or 2 where I go over a bit, and maybe I have a day where I'm off, maybe a little bit lower, but not huge swings. Not like, "Oh, I'm dieting one week, I'm trying to gain weight one week." It's like a couple 100-calorie difference in between, so it all levels out.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, that's like, it's gonna be like 3,600 calories right now is what it'll be. Put me a little like a 300-ish, yeah, 3 or 400 calorie surplus.
Nice. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I mean, it's like it's more calories than what I expect whenever you actually know where you land and everything. and are
Yeah.
meticulous with tracking.
Well, especially if you're coming from a diet, you're coming from a fat loss phase, maybe, if you're trying to lose a pound a week, that's gonna be somewhere around 500 calories a day deficit. Then you come back up to your maintenance, you add those 500 back. That's you just not gaining or losing weight. Now you wanna gain something, so you're adding on top of that. So the swing could be pretty big over a few months. But I
Hmm.
like that, I like about a month in between to let things kinda settle. I think if you flip the switch too quick, there's something about getting that new set point in there. Just let your body settle, and again, just kinda even just recover a little bit.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Yeah, so it should be fun. It should be fun. We'll see how it goes.
Nice, nice.
But I always, I'm gonna keep, I like to keep some cardio in here for this too, just because you can tolerate it too. Your recovery is great. So I'm gonna try to do, zone 2 most days and probably 2 of those kinda 6-minute-ish, high intensity sessions,
Okay,
and we'll see what we get.
nice. I like it.
Should be good, should be good. So we wrap it up there? We've been talking a while here.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
probably
Need to
get
kind
some
of
other
wrap
stuff
up.
to do. Gotta go home
Yeah,
and, tend to the farm there, right?
yeah, yeah. Gotta make sure the tortoises are corralled.
Nice. Get right on back in. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, it was great chatting with you, man. Let us know. Tell people where they can find you. Your what's your website? What your social media?
Yeah, we're liveoaktestosterone.com. We see people in Texas, brick and mortar, telehealth throughout. I'm licensed in Colorado for telemedicine. I just have a couple of patients there, but and Live Oak Health is my YouTube handle, and then Live Oak Testosterone for all the other Facebook, Instagram, TikTok that we will post smaller versions to. Of course, reach out with any questions, any of those platforms.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to chat, man. It was good. It was good seeing you. Yeah. Mason has a great. I'll put a link. I'll put some links below too. But Mason has a great YouTube channel. Tons of stuff. Lots of interviews. Lots of information there. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Let's
Thanks, and
let's do it again soon.
well, I'll have you back on mine, and we'll just crisscross.
I like it. I like it. Sweet. Sweet. All right, man. Have
Cool,
a great
man.
one. I'll talk to you soon.